Welcome to Legal 123s with ByrdAdatto. Legal issues simplified through real client stories and real-world experiences. Creating simplicity in 3, 2, 1.
Well, welcome back to another episode of the Legal 123s with ByrdAdatto. I'm your host, ByrdAdatto, with my co-host, Michael Byrd.
As business attorneys for healthcare practices, we meet a lot of interesting people and learn their amazing stories. Brad, this season's theme is asking for a friend. We will tackle questions that practices are sometimes afraid to ask.
Now, audience members, understand this is a safe place. Everyone knows it's not you asking the question. If you use those magical protective words that say, asking for a friend. Now, Michael, I'm super excited to bring on our guest for this
Double
show.
super?
Yes, super.
Oh, wow.
However, before she joins us, Michael, we have to discuss an extremely important question I have for you today. Have you ever been knocked out while playing a sport?
Not while I was typing.
Okay. Yeah. By the way, typing's still not a sport.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm not sure how you define knocked out. As you know, I'm a lifelong competitive tennis player. And I have twice been on the receiving end of a tennis ball hit 80 plus miles an hour to a different body part.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it made me wish I was knocked out.
Yes, that could make sense. Yes,
Yeah.
That was okay.
How about you?
Believe it or not, I know it's hard to believe. I've been knocked out more than once, mostly while playing football. And the number of times I've been knocked out playing football, that was back when they say you got your bell rung. Like, oh, just get back up. You just got your bell rung. Get back in there. So, that I could go on and on with the stories.
I've never had more clarity about my partner than right now. You explain so much.
All right. Well, Michael, back in the old days, like old days being like last year even, if you were ever knocked out while playing football, and including in the NFL, what would they do to bring you back?
Smelling salts.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes. However, the NFL actually decided just recently to crack down on smelling salts, which they banned from pregame, which I think is great, and halftime. It seems that smelling salts were they want to say that's kind of out of bounds, illegal now. In shocking news, it turns out smelling salts can mask symptoms of concussions.
I'm actually wondering if smelling salts would have helped me in my situation.
No. You were still awake.
Yeah.
Well, so the NFL Head, Neck, and Spine Committee, which I think is fascinating they have one, though, said no more AI, Michael, and not AI like you think. It's ammonia inhalants for safety, a.k.a. smelling salts. Clearly indicating that my AI in football went beyond just picking the best fantasy football team.
I have no idea what you just said, but I am quite impressed with your vocabulary. I cannot believe that you actually pronounced ammonia inhalants correctly.
I've been practicing for days for that one. But me too. I'm pretty shocked. I was really worried as with it, especially with our guest with all her technical know-how and scientific background.
I felt the tremor of the collective groan of our audience with your dad jokes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Somewhere in this conversation, there has to be some sort of lesson for our healthcare providers in the audience, maybe about not masking their patients' symptoms. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a stretch.
Agree.
Might pull a muscle.
Yeah.
Let's bring on our guest,
Yes.
and before she has her own revelation that she needs to leave.
Yeah, go for it. Get around here.
All right, let's bring her on. Okay, joining us today is Shawna Chrisman. She's a longtime friend of both of us. Shawna is a board-certified nurse practitioner. A little bit of her educational background. She has her master's from the University of California, San Francisco, acute care nurse practitioner. Undergrad, California State University at Sacramento, BS in nursing. Shawna is the founder of Destination Aesthetics Medical Spa. She's also an Allergan Medical Institute educator. She lectures at medical conferences all over the country. She's got some trophies along the way, business acumen, including Sacramento Top 100 Business Leader, Women Who Mean Business Award. And in 2023, Destination Aesthetics partnered with Advanced Metaesthetic Partners. And surprisingly, she is a first-time guest on our podcast. And once again, I blame you, Brad, for that.
Sorry.
Shawna, thanks for being here.
Hey, guys. Thank you so much for having me. It is truly an honor to sit at this table with you both.
Well, we're pumped to have you. Like Michael said, been way too long. I don't know why. Again, I blame Michael. But first important question right out of the bat. Have you ever been knocked out while playing a competitive sport, or in Michael's case, a non-competitive sport?
That's a no. But thanks for keeping my mic on. Just kidding during that question when Michael answered, because I was trying really hard not to. But no, but there's always in the future, and hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun for a moment in time when you're knocked out, but then when you come back in, not so much fun.
Okay.
I think the biggest thing that I do now competitively is play pickleball, and if I get knocked out playing pickleball, it's probably my fault. Like I run into a post or something. So hopefully that will.
Hey, there is a no joke on the injury front in pickleball. You got to watch out. The orthopedists are loving it.
Yes.
I have heard.
Yeah. Well,
Don't want to be on that list.
stay safe.
Yes.
All right.
Thank
Let's jump in. Tell us a little bit more about you and your background. Anything that we didn't cover.
Yeah, like you said, I'm a nurse practitioner. I thought my whole life I'd be practicing in critical care medicine. When we talk about acute care specialty, that's what my specialty was, which was in acute care medicine and critical care. And lo and behold, this, pharmaceutical called Botox Cosmetic really just changed my life. I started doing Botox parties on the side, thinking that I kind of wanted to pivot into something that would give me a little bit more of a flexible lifestyle. That ended up just completely taking over my world and giving me a completely inflexible lifestyle. But so I came into aesthetics really unplanned, and thankfully it's the best thing that I've ever done for my career, because I get to meet people like you, and I get to empower patients and people to feeling like their best selves and most confident selves. And it's the gift that keeps giving, honestly, and that's what keeps us coming back for more.
I love the fact that you kind of found it, and it was not, wasn't intentional, and yet you've created this, which we'll learn, an incredible career of something you really weren't focused in on. That's really cool.
Definitely not. And I didn't even go into this career path even understanding what aesthetics was. I truly thought that I was going to age gracefully without Botox and all of the things. And I realized that practicing medicine with our hands in an unconventional way is still medicine.
That's
and
cool.
So that's really what pivoted me into aesthetics and discovering my passion.
Well, tell us about now. So you started doing these Botox parties aside, but then you start this incredible company or practice, Destination Aesthetics, that then ends up partnering with AMP. Tell us about that.
So Destination Aesthetics, the name Destination came from me doing Botox parties, hence the word destination. I would literally go to people's parties, and instead of a Tupperware party, we talk about Botox and administered Botox. And I know from a compliance and legal standpoint, you guys are just cringing in your seats right now. Like, what's happening? What are there consents? All the things. I know what's going on in your head. But I started doing that and realized that I needed a brick and mortar for these people to come back to, because people were texting me and asking me if I could come back out to their house. And I'm like, I have 2 other full-time jobs working as a nurse practitioner. So I started a single room medical spa with my medical director, who was at the time a medicinal marijuana prescriber. So we shared an office, and basically, back then we incorporated in 2011 and started really seeing patients in 2012, and aesthetics really wasn't a thing at the time. So I was lucky to get in early. However, the disadvantage is that we don't have all of the resources that we have now for medical spa practices and owners and providers and clinicians like myself, where you have safety, compliance, and you have all of those things at your fingertips, business advisors and things like that. So it was really a rough kind of raw start, but I was lucky enough to have a really loyal patient following, where I went from 1 room to 2 rooms in a studio suite, and then opened up our current Sacramento location that had 8 treatment rooms. And that was kind of our first real brick and mortar. And then we ended up scaling to a total of 5 locations. And then, yes, I partnered with Advanced Aesthetic Partners in March of 23. And so it's been it's been about 2.5 years now. And it just seems like the biggest whirlwind, all of it from A to Z. And now I'm starting a whole new alphabet with AMP. So Advanced Aesthetic Partners for short.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was going to say, the funny thing you said was not funny. Like when you started off, there really weren't that many good resources to really how to build a successful med spa. And I can say, and I'm sure I won't put words in your mouth, Michael, that we still talk to people who don't realize how many great resources are out there. And so for our audience members, to your point, is like they still try to go out and do it on their own and not even realize they could join something like, AnSpa or go to other conferences and learn about how to do things properly. And they just kind of do it themselves. And then they realize in fact, I had a call today with a nurse practitioner in Illinois who kind of did that to themselves. So I agree, like use those resources that are out there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was honestly one of the very first things that I did when I started. And that's where I met Alex Tiersch. We kind of like started our businesses around the same time. And I think I saw him in a boot camp that was in some like janky hotel room or something like that. It was like, again, our beginnings were pretty raw, but I wanted to make sure that I understood the laws. You'll be proud of me for that. And all of the regulations, because look, I'm a nurse practitioner. I was not a business entrepreneur at the time. I had no business acumen. I didn't know what I was doing, let alone from a safety and compliance standpoint. So that was hands down the best thing that I did. And that's where I got to meet you guys as well.
Yes.
I'm curious too. I'm going back to the beginnings with Destination Aesthetics. So when you were in your first brick and mortar, did you at some point expand beyond injectables, or were you focused kind of niche on the injectables practice?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I started out myself as a solopreneur doing chemical peels, microdermabrasion. I was doing facials, injectables, and then I bought my first laser when I was in my one room. And then when we expanded to the current brick and mortar, we did expand into other services like microneedling. We had an esthetician who worked there doing skincare treatments and took it off of the providers such as myself as the injectors to kind of like streamline and give the experts the expert treatments that they do in their realm. And then we really heavily focused on cosmetic injectables as a foundational revenue stream for aesthetics. And it still definitely is the foundation of our practice, being always over 80% of our total overall revenue.
That's amazing. I'm also curious too, like you go on this journey where you're, kind of stumble into opening your own retail as you realize and are kind of unlocking this passion. What in the world was your vision when you're like, okay, I need to open a second location? Like that is a big jump.
Honestly, during that time, I was really fortunate that honestly, like almost on day one, when we opened up our 8-room treatment facility in Sacramento, we were almost fully booked on every room, every provider from day one.
Wow.
So it got to the point where every single provider was booked out 2 weeks to 2 months. And so organically, the question was, where are these people coming from? And we need to service them better by opening up a location there. And that's why we went to Folsom, California. And then from there, we went to Elk Grove, Roseville, El Dorado Hills. So all of the locations are really close in vicinity to each other, probably within like 25, 30 minutes of each other. Because myself, being a wife and a mom, having more locations outside of kind of the Sacramento County area was just not an option for me to kind of go and dig in and manage outside of my little circle.
And in California, the way I understand it, if it's 25 miles away, that's like a mile and a half. 25 minutes, is that like a mile and a half, right? You could either walk there or it takes 25 minutes to drive there or something like that.
That is a fact in some areas for sure.
Yeah.
Exactly. So now you know why.
Yeah.
I chose to keep everything very consolidated.
Talk about what obviously you talked about partnering with AMP and mentioned a new role. Talk about what you're currently doing with AMP.
Yeah, so when I joined, I was still responsible for my 5 DA locations, which now seems very easy to do considering my transition in the company. Although I'm extremely fortunate and grateful for the opportunity that I have had within the family and platform. So in this past January, I became a managing partner, and I now oversee 2 additional brands outside of Destination Aesthetics for a total of 12 locations outside of my 5. And so that was a stretch, but what it did was it reinvigorated my passion for basically business development, because I could go into these other amazing brands and together and collaboratively with the resources that AMP has and my past knowledge of scaling Destination Aesthetics, I was able to go in and help collaboratively make change. And that feels good. And then as of about 3 weeks ago, I became the Chief Aesthetics Officer for AMP. And so that is a new role, but like I also like to say, it's a new / additional role. And that's why I go back to say like, oh my gosh, just managing and operating, growing Destination Aesthetics with our 5 locations now, it seems very simple, but it's not. But so the opportunity was positioned for me, and what this has done now is it's given me a glimpse into more of the finance side of M&A, investment banking, and all of that. So I'm kind of learning more full circle, I guess, of what all of these mergers and acquisitions are all about, instead of just being on the sell side.
Well, Michael, that kind of reminds me, we kind of need to take a step back. And we're talking about all these things that happened before. Mm-hmm. So maybe we can ask, going back to what is our theme for today?
Oh, yeah. We have the asking for a friend. And so I'll pose it almost like a Dear Abby type pose. We have a friend that he keeps hearing about people selling their med spas and is curious about it, doesn't understand it. And so I'm asking for a friend, Shawna. Why did you decide to sell your practice, or using a different word, partner with a private equity backed company?
That's the great question. So there are 4 things that really happened in my life that kind of led me to that. I never in a million years thought that I would ever sell Destination Aesthetics. But I had a close friend, unfortunately, tragically pass away in a plane accident. Mm-hmm. And I think when those kind of things happen, we all kind of take a pause of like, how are we spending our life? How are we spending our time, and what truly matters? And the second thing was, I found a full sibling biological sister on Ancestry.com. We're both adopted from Korea, had no idea that each other existed. And I had an instant sister. And when she told me that she was going to move to California from New York, that's where she lived and grew up, I honestly had to take a pause and ask myself if I had time for this relationship. That made me so sad because I was so busy. And then my husband worked for family business all his life. They actually sold their business right before COVID. And so he was working in DA kind of as like a help to me, but it wasn't his passion. And so I kind of wanted to release him to kind of do something for himself and to find his own passion. And then also, finally, my daughter was suffering from a lot of mental health issues at the time, and she was getting ready to graduate high school. And I just needed to be more present for her. So all of that led to me just asking the question of like, hey, what does this look like? So, I worked with SkyTail to kind of help bring me to market and kind of get me there and like give me a plan of what this looks like. And I would probably say like one of the biggest things that I hear from people that are practice owners and are thinking about maybe selling in the future is that they say, I'll be ready maybe in like 2-3 years. And I'm like, well, that's when you really need to kind of think about this now. And it was really interesting. There was someone on social media that posted about, all these people selling their practices and selling out. And it honestly like hurt my feelings because people don't know what's going on behind closed doors. And, it's really quick for people to think that people just want a fast payout and that they don't want to be in the industry anymore, that they don't care about their teams and all these things. And honestly, like every situation is so different, and there's not one person that I know that just honestly wanted to sell out, get out, be out. Everyone still wants to be in the industry. Everyone still wants to make sure that their team is taken care of and nurtured, and that their ability continues to grow.
Yeah. So then, all great reasons. I mean, everyone's going to have their own reasons, but I love that you have 4 of them, and each one seems to have its own powerful meaning. So then you decide that you will sell. What was it like going through that sales process?
Well, it was like indescribable. How's that? Very, very
okay, we were done with the podcast, everybody.
Yeah. But I can tell you, I was thinking about it this morning, knowing I was coming on this podcast. There's not one day that goes by that I regret my decision. When you go through, the reason it was so hard is because all of the blood, sweat, and tears you take in putting your entire heart into this business and to the people, you just want to make sure that continues, that the partner continues to align with your core values. My biggest thing was making sure that my team was taken care of. It wasn't about who brought the most money, who brought the best terms, all of these things. It was really like, who's going to continue to align with our core values. So that being said, I am so grateful that I chose to exit when I did, and I'm extremely grateful that I exited who I partnered with.
Well, that's a great takeaway just in general, because a lot of people, they'll have, multiple offers sitting in front of them, and they focus on the in number versus what you just described, which is what's the one that I'll be best to partner with, because they understand what I've built here and that they can work with me on that piece. That's a really good takeaway.
Yeah, I mean, you have your married basically to this partner for however long your employment agreement is. You better make sure that this is, you chose a partner that you can continue to align with.
Was this the biggest professional decision that you've ever made, was when you were making that decision of selling and who to sell to?
100%.
And I'm guessing, because we try to describe, I mean, it's funny you use the word undescribable, because we have not sold ourselves, but we've been alongside for so many, and we try to describe just the fact that you've got this really big decision that you're making, the biggest decision on the business front, and you're marrying that with a lot of emotion and of the emotional roller coaster in this compacted time, and it is difficult to explain that journey.
It's very difficult. But, my biggest recommendation for people who are considering it is do your due diligence. Make sure that your valuation is accurate, obviously, and make sure that you are aligned with the plan forward.
Yeah, and so looking, now that we hear how well you're happy and how undescribable, if someone's thinking about going through this process, what challenges or friction moments should they expect? Not saying that everyone will have that, but like just kind of giving them some ideas about what that process, going back to the process, like what were some big challenges that maybe you went through, or now that you're on the other side that you see other people going through?
For me, the timeline was most stressful, because it's kind of like building a house. Your contractor comes with you and they're like, hey, Brad and Michael, your house is going to be done from start to finish. You're going to be able to move into this house fully furnished in 6 weeks. Yeah, exactly. And so for me, in partnering with AMP, they were, at the time of my acquisition, were acquiring, it was just this, it seemed like M&A, as you guys probably remember, so many PE groups and family offices, like the biggest land grab ever. And so they were integrating so many partners at the same time. And so I kind of kept getting pushed back on like the waiting list, I guess you could say. And that made me nervous.
Yeah.
And it really was a capacity integration thing. I know that now, but at the time it just felt like they don't want me, they don't care, and all these things. And it absolutely wasn't that. So of course, like I probably brought the additional drama factor there, and I didn't need to. Sorry for like all the people who saw the tears regarding that, but it really was just that you want this to be this. You want this house built, and you want to move into the fully furnished house in 6 weeks, and that doesn't happen. So that would probably say the biggest point is be patient with the timeline, because things happen, and you don't really want to push things through if not all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
So when they kept telling you it's not you, it's me, you just didn't believe them?
I didn't.
Okay, final question.
I didn't.
Final asking for a friend question. This time I'm asking for a friend, and his name is Brad.
I don't know that guy.
How do you think the aesthetic industry is changing?
Well, I feel like it changes every day. The catty part of me will say that I feel like it's becoming a little bit of a social club. And I feel like it maybe is veering away from the professional medical industry that we technically really are. That being said, I do love how it's flourishing and kind of developing its own identity in medical profession, I guess, in the medical professional world. We're very flamboyant. We definitely have a lot of smart, brilliant people in this space. There's a lot of innovation. There's a lot of, money in pharmaceutical companies that are injecting money into research and development. So I honestly feel that we're just getting started in all of the anti-aging wellness capacity, and it's invigorating to me.
Totally agree. Yeah, it's like that seems like the next wave. All the anti-aging related stuff. That's great, and I do agree. Yeah. I think you meant that Brad's flamboyant when you said that, but yes, I agree.
Maybe a little.
I mean, yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, 11.
Yeah.
No.
Yes, exactly.
It's probably like a 12, but okay.
Yeah. Well, believe it or not, Shawna, we've run out of time. Thank you so much for joining us on the Legal 1-2-3s with ByrdAdatto. We're grateful for you and our friendship. We'll go to break next, and then we'll have a little legal wrap up when we get back. But appreciate you coming on.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Many business owners use legal counsel as a last resort rather than as a proactive tool that can further their success. Why? For most, it's the fear of unknown legal costs. ByrdAdatto's Access Plus program makes it possible for you to get the ongoing legal assistance you need for one predictable monthly fee. That gives you unlimited phone and email access to the legal team, so you can receive feedback on legal concerns as they arise. Access Plus, a smarter, simpler way to access legal services. Find out more. Visit ByrdAdatto.com today.
Welcome back to Legal 1-2-3s with ByrdAdatto. I'm your host, ByrdAdatto, with my co-host, Michael Byrd. Now, Michael, for those who don't know, this season our theme is asking for a friend. We had a real good friend come on and join us, and Shawna really dropped down some serious knowledge about really what the process looks like to sell a practice and what you have to go through. But she also had some really good takeaways about just starting a new practice, in her case, an aesthetic practice. What were some of the takeaways you had, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, I noticed her talking about at the beginning not having any resources, and she kind of bashfully saying she was having Botox parties and knew that she may not have been dotting I's and crossing T's because she didn't know about compliance and all the rules. And despite the fact that there are so many resources available today, not to mention this podcast, by the way.
Oh, yeah, it's a good resource.
It's we talk about pirate mode when people are starting a practice, or often they just get off and are running in their practice. They don't pause and realize that there's this other side, this compliance side. And so we would just encourage anyone in the audience, if you are feeling that weight that you have started and haven't looked at this, or have been running your business for a while and kind of put this on the back burner, there's a real risk in being a medical practice, that you want to make sure that you look at these details, and that it's not just a matter of protecting your business, but you're also creating value in your business so that if you ever are like Shawna and decide to sell, you actually have a sellable business.
Absolutely. Well, audience members, unfortunately, it's all the time we have today, but we'll continue this journey of asking for a friend when we bring on two friends of ours, the Ryans with VO, who will ask about the idea of starting your own franchise or running a franchise. Thanks again for joining us today. And remember, if you like this episode, please subscribe, make sure to give us a 5-star rating, and share with your friends.
You can also sign up for the ByrdAdatto newsletter by going to our website at ByrdAdatto.com.
ByrdAdatto is providing this podcast as a public service. This podcast is for educational purposes only. This podcast does not constitute legal advice, nor does it establish an attorney-client relationship. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by ByrdAdatto. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. Please consult with an attorney on your legal issues.